and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we talked about awareness and why it may be the most important thing ever of all time. Today, for episode number 276, we are going to do our 2019 year-end review and what you can do to make sure that you are reflecting on your year properly.
So on this episode, Kevin and I have a whole whiteboard full of what we accomplished and what we did in 2019. And for you guys, what you want to do is look at your calendar, look at your photos, review the year and see if the intentions you set got accomplished. Look at where you spent your time, where you spent your money. Look at the things that you regret. Look at the things that you wish you had done more of. But before we jump into this episode,
go to the www.thehyperconsciouspodcast.com. Click hashtag join Hyperconscious Nation. You'll be entered into our private Facebook group where, as we'll get into our year-end review, but I am making the commitment now to post in there every single day. I am sorry I have been jeffing you guys. We'll talk about the behind the scenes of that in this episode, but this group is for you if you're trying to get after it. If you feel ambitious and you don't feel like you're getting that from the people around you, that's what this group's all about. We want to help you guys accomplish whatever your goals are, whatever success means to you. We want to create a community that'll help you get there.
folks, on this whiteboard, one of the line items says Influencer Academy, Your World Within Live, Confident Women's Consortium, The Movement Family, and Mass Maritime. Those are some of the speeches that we've been a part of and or we're speaking at. And the people that we met at those networking events have, without a question, changed our lives more than anything else. So, that said, if you go to www.topnotchlive2020.com, you'll be able to buy a ticket, buy one, get one free, $97, January 25th, UMass Lowell Conference Center. We're going to have 8 speakers, Brant Pinvidic, 7 others. You're going to leave there with a workbook of how to make your resolutions for 2020, which the next episode we do is going to be setting intentions for 2020. You're going to leave that room with an actual executable game plan under each of the 8 categories of the speakers that we're having. So please join us there.
We have a young man flying in from Italy.
Oh, yes.
He's flying in from Italy.
Alessandro.
I don't even know where Italy is, man. If you said find it on a map, actually, it has the boot, right?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. It's not close, I don't think.
Geographically?
All right, so we did this. We didn't do this last year because we hadn't been in business, really. But at the beginning of 2019, we sat down and we put a list of things that we wanted to accomplish.
Yeah. We also did a 2018.
Did we do a 2018?
Review, I believe.
It's probably brutal.
Most likely, yeah.
But so let's we just want to run through this, and then I want to make this as much about you guys as possible because, again, the reason, like when we go through this, we did a lot of stuff this year.
Yeah.
But we did some course corrections along the way. Like we did a lot of, this wasn't just like, okay, let's start 2019, and here we are at 2020, and all this got done. This was a lot of pain. It was a lot of growth. It was a lot of pivots. It was a lot of tough conversations. It was a lot of prioritization. There were so many things that went into this. So where do you want to start? How do we do this?
Right at the top of the list.
Just
Let's
hammer
do it.
through. So Alan and I both turned 30.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yep.
That's a thing for a lot of people.
We had the party here. Surprise party.
We did have the party here. Yeah.
Kevin thought we were
I
podcasting.
drank
You
a
got so upset.
bunch of Twisted Teas.
Oh, yeah.
Not my proudest moment. So it was the first year of Hyperconscious speeches. It was the first year I had ever given a speech
Period.
to anybody in my entire life. Now you do one.
Oh, no, I go. So it was the first year where we had one-on-one clients. Now, Amy had been a client of mine, but she was the only
Amy.
one that I had, OG Amy. And you had no clients. And now we both are peak performance coaches.
Yes.
You're doing podcast coaching. I'm doing fitness and business coaching. And it's crazy how quickly that evolved.
Yeah. And speaking of one-on-one clients, 2 of those one-on-one clients are now members of the Hyperconscious team, and we work with them, and they work with us, and they're amazing. And we have a mastermind with them. That's new. That's this year.
That's this year.
This year, that happened.
Shout out to Amy and Tiffany. You guys are awesome.
You
You guys
guys
are
are
rock
awesome.
stars. Thank you so much.
I cannot wait to see what 2020 has in store for us as a team, but also you guys on your own as well in your own endeavors, and I look forward to seeing your growth, continued growth.
It's unbelievable.
185 episodes.
185.
That might be the one I'm most blown away by. So we did 185 episodes. 52 of those were guest reps.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of episodes to do in a year.
Yeah.
And
That's a lot of conversations.
That was the
about
first-
personal development.
That
and
was the
growth.
first time. So before that, we had 90, I believe. Is that the math? Yeah. So we had 90. We did 90 episodes in the first 2 years, and we doubled that in a single year.
Jesus, man.
So that's a lot.
So, if Kevin and I sound burnt out right now, it's because it's been a hell of a day,
Yeah.
and we were at a New Year's Eve party last night.
Yes. Oh, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to
By the
everybody!
way,
Yeah,
we
right.
Yeah. We should have led with that.
We should have led with that.
Jeff.
So the next line item
is a big one.
600% growth in listens. As a matter of fact, so I have spreadsheets where I track the analytics of the podcast between YouTube, Spotify, now Buzzsprout, and SoundCloud used to be our old
No,
platform.
Buzzsprout's different. Doesn't matter. You don't have to track Buzzsprout.
I do.
No, that is iTunes.
Yeah, but I go. No, I go.
I know.
Okay. So, anyways, so I went back to, I believe the last line item in my spreadsheet was December 28th, 2018. Yeah, 2018. And we grew our listens by 600%. It was actually like 594 or something like that, but I rounded up. So 600% growth in listens, which is all thanks to all of you.
Yes,
And
without
that's
you guys,
huge.
we couldn't. I did a little gratitude on my story the other day about like where you and I are living our dream lives.
Yeah.
Like, we get to do what we love every single day, but we wouldn't be able to get to do it if we were just talking to ourselves. And you guys are, between that and our clients and the people that have come and seen us speak and the people in Hyperconscious Nation and Amy and Tiff, it's like without you guys, we're just two bros sitting in front of microphones. So we owe all this to you. And
Truly.
we also, so we are living our dream lives. We have our dream jobs. And Alan and I both got into dream relationships this year. Taryn, I love you so much, baby. I could not do this without you, nor would I want to. And I'm so excited to see what 2020 has in store for both of us. Mwah.
Starting the new year off with your person who you love deeply, care for deeply, and who you are so excited to create and build a future with might be the best feeling in the entire world.
I would say so.
Yeah.
All right, now let's bring the pain. This is where we've been jeffing.
Oh, yeah.
Hyperconscious Nation, we started, and this was around the time where we were trying to go live in Hyperconscious Nation every Monday when we were together, but we were trying to do it every day.
Yep.
We were also sending out 3 Hyperconscious morning minutes a week to our
Whiteboard courses.
whiteboard courses. We were doing so much stuff.
The website.
The website, like there was so much going on in that time, but I admit, and I said this, like I've been jeffing when it comes to Hyperconscious Nation. There's been so many other things behind the scenes, and I just haven't prioritized that to the best of my ability, and I take full responsibility for that, and I'm going to change that. And that's not a New Year's resolution. That is a commitment. I am committed to that. I'm not, it's not a resolution. I've been jeffing it. I don't want to jeff it anymore.
Right. And
That's
for
mine.
those of you who don't know, the story behind Jeffing It,
Oh yeah, right.
one time Kevin got to the studio
Yes.
and he meant to say, "I am here" in
Mm-hmm.
text messages. And he said, and I quote, "I am Jeff."
Mhm.
And I immediately responded saying, "I am also Jeff."
Yes.
And that is what Jeffing
Yes.
came from.
We have nothing. If your name is Jeff, we have nothing against
yeah,
you.
we are sorry.
It just became an adjective for anything and everything.
yeah, basically.
So
Also, as I mentioned already, networking events, Influencer Academy, that full week, we
Yeah, it was
met
brutal.
some people. So the next line item is travel. We traveled a lot this past year. So we traveled to Toronto. That was an 8-hour drive to and from, so 16 hours total, to meet Evan Carmichael and interview him in person for the second time. So
Yep.
first time in person, but second time total.
Yep.
We flew to California to go to Influencer Academy, Brendan Burchard's event. And while we were out there, we met with Dave Meltzer in his studio. We did a podcast there. We had Anthony Trucks on our show in our San Diego hotel room. We met Dr. Nikki Starr in person for the first time, and we went into the Pacific Ocean for Kevin's first
Yes.
ever sunset over the Pacific Ocean
Yes.
and
Very
swimming
nice.
in the waves.
very
Yeah.
nice. No sharks.
No sharks. We met with Kim and Spike. We finally got to meet little Declan, and we stayed with them for one night. We ended up watching a great movie and having a blast there. They cooked us dinner.
Yes.
What a great trip.
It was glorious.
Great trip. And then Brant Pinvidic, we met with him at his mansion, his house, where we studioed. We podcasted in his movie theater,
Yes.
which was really, really cool. And then he made us hibachi.
Believe it or not, didn't make for a great YouTube episode because it was dark.
It was
AF in
so
there.
dark.
But,
Dude, in hindsight, we should not have done that room.
yeah, but you know what? It was cool.
It was
a
really
cool story
cool.
too.
It was really cool. And then we also saw Brandon Farbstein, who we had on the show at Influencer as well, which
Yes.
was really cool.
Yes.
So meeting incredible people, traveling all over the country. We also traveled to Florida.
Yes.
several times.
Yes.
Twice for Euro Within.
Yep.
We traveled to New Jersey,
Yep. Eric LeGrand.
right?
What's up? What's happening, my man?
And we met his dog.
Yes.
Who
Again,
is huge.
That was the second time. Remember, we went there with Bella.
That's right. That's right. And then New York. We went to New York to visit
Tori.
Tori Aletto,
Yes.
who's now speaking at Top Notch Live, by the way. January 25th.
Yeah. Tell him.
www.topnotchlive2020.com.
Yes.
So pumped to have her as a speaker, man. She's excited too, which is great.
Relationships.
Yes, on intimate
Don't
relationships.
steal my thing. Is that it for that?
What were you going to say?
I was gonna say the next line at him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you good?
Yeah.
So we also got a really, really good coach
Yeah.
and mentor, several of them, in fact. So Dave Meltzer, we have a call every other week with him. We get to pick his brain. He's an ally now. He's pulling for us. He's a great dude, and he sponsored this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
And Evan Carmichael. So
yeah.
when he spoke at Your World Within Live, we took Alan's laptop out at the dinner table, and he went over our analytics, and he sends us videos of how we're screwing up every so often.
Right.
And we're just very appreciative that, again, guys, the first interview we had with Evan was this year. The first interview we had with Dave was this year. And now Dave is a coach and Evan is a mentor of ours. Like,
Yeah.
so much can happen in a year. And that's, again, the point of this is not to gloat and say, oh, look at all the cool stuff we did.
Right.
No, what it is,
To show what's possible.
yeah, and a lot of these were intentions we set.
I know.
And again, let's do this. How about Mark Metry for a podcast ally? We were saying we needed to hang out with more podcasters.
I know.
And now we are friends with one of the best in the world.
I remember at one point we were looking for a podcast mentor who was way ahead of us.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, Mark Metry, Dave, Evan, like, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And even Eddie has a podcast now, which is interesting.
Yeah, EP and T-Mac.
Yeah, Eddie Pinero we met for the first time this time last year.
Yep. Yeah.
And Anthony Trucks for the first time this time last year. And he's already talked about how he wants to do a retreat on a potential cruise and how we might be speakers for that. Again, that's all up in the air. But it's very cool what can happen in a year. And honestly, man, looking at this, it's like, if you listen to this show, you know that I don't know if I'd call it complaining, but we definitely struggle. And we talk openly about our struggles because I think we really want to pull back the curtain on how hard this is and how much it can suck. And Brendan Burchard says, embrace the suck. Guys, this year really sucked in a lot of ways when it comes to like the tough moments, the tough conversations, the crying in the car outside the hotel room, talking about unpacking a lot of the junk that we have in ourselves, facing your fears, getting rid of limiting beliefs, realizing when you have no money and you need cash flow and you have to figure out how to make money on your own because it's all up to you, family problems. Like, I could go into some things. I can't even talk about some of the stuff that happened this year, but the point is like, this was a really, really hard year. So yeah, we're giving you the highlight reel of all the awesome stuff we accomplished. Like, I did a triathlon for the first time. We have the website, thanks to Kevin. And it's interesting because, people who do design websites don't even think that's a good website, but it's better than no website.
Oh, it's brutal.
Right. But this is the thing, like...
Got to throw that dig in there, huh?
Well, sorry, Kev. I mean, hey, it's better than my
Thanks
website.
to Kevin.
Yeah.
It really sucks, though.
Yeah, it's a real piece of poo. No, it's not. It's better than my website, which is not live. So done is better than perfect, as Lori Harder would say. The point is this. We can sit here and talk about all these amazing things. We were on 42 other shows. The first time we ever went on another media
This year.
together was this year with Joyce on the Totally Well show. And now we've done 42 of
That's
them.
another great ally, Joyce. We've
Right.
been on her show. She's been on ours, Confident Women Consortium.
Right.
It's amazing.
We didn't even know Joyce. We met her in Boston.
Yeah.
When we podcasted with David Meltzer in the hotel room.
Yeah.
I think so. I said this to Emilia this morning when she was asking me. She asked me last night, like, what do you do at the end of the year? And I said, I look at my calendar, I look at all the photos, and I look back and I try to figure out what I spent my time on, what I spent my money on, and what brought me a ton of value and what didn't, and then what to double down on and what to eliminate, automate, and delegate. So this morning I said this to her. Can't even speak.
Not great.
I said, sweetheart, people drastically overestimate what they believe they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a decade. This is 1 year. 185 podcast episodes, 42 other shows. Granted, that's only 21 each. But, like, the allies, the 600% growth of listens, like, if you looked at one day you'd think I can't. I'll tell you this, okay? When I wake up in the morning, I almost never go to bed thinking I did everything I intended to do. Almost never. But when you look at this year, it's like, wow, look at what we've done. This is so cool. But if you asked me on the day-to-day, did I always feel like I was winning? The answer would be hell no. As a matter of fact, a lot of the time I felt like I was losing.
Right, we talked about that. These are the highlights, right? These are the highlights of the year. But we were also talking about how we have been screwing up in certain arenas. Like, again, Hyperconscious Nation. When we started that, I was so amped about that. But I didn't have as many clients. I wasn't traveling as much as I am. There wasn't as much. There wasn't as much going on. So I don't want my 2020 review to not have Hyperconscious Nation got to 1,000 members. You know what I mean? Everything that's on here, I want to be in our 2020 review, but exponential.
Right.
And more. So I think it's amazing how much we accomplished in 2019, and doing a year-end review is amazing, and we're looking at the things that we did well, but I think it's also important to, what did you do badly? What do you regret? Do you regret, oh, you know what? I went and did this and I had that really bad night that I wish I didn't have. Or I went and spent my money on this thing that I didn't need. I don't even use it. I don't even know where it is. If you have those things, it's important to reflect on those as well. And that's through that pain is, I keep saying, we make these pivots. We make these course corrections. It wasn't just a straight line through the year.
Oh, it was brutal.
Right? Like, the speeches were different things.
Yep.
The team was different things. The episode, that was, like, the 185 episodes, that was all over the place. Our dream relationships, that didn't just happen.
Oh, I know.
That happened through us growing, and so all of these things. But
painful conversations.
Of course.
Reflecting on the past. Yeah. What we should do you think... We should look at this board and look at some of the painful moments, get vulnerable, and be open about like some of the stuff that was like really negative's not the right word, but like less shiny. Like the conversation was in LA? Where was it?
Boy.
Or
In the
TMF
car?
after that. Remember the ride home of like, oh my God, that was the worst speech we've ever given.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Alan and I didn't prep enough, and when I got in the room, I was like, "Oh, this isn't great." And then on the way home, it was like, I don't even know if I'm a speaker anymore.
Let's do push-ups.
Yeah, let's do push-ups. Is it on? If it's on the YouTube page if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
sold it well. What else?
Tough moments, losing clients. That's never easy.
Yeah.
Missing calls with Millionaire Mentors that being late to things. The tough conversation with T-Mac and Eddie prior to Your World Within Live, where I put the result above the people in the room. All of the feedback from Dave and Evan.
Oh, yeah.
Almost losing Dave as a coach because we were asking, fear-based questions. Like the triathlon the night before, only getting 3 hours of sleep and waking up at literally like 3:30 a.m. panicking of like, can I really do this? Like, I'm so exhausted. Yeah.
Trying to think of what else.
Dude, in Cali, in Florida when you had all your clients plus your girlfriend plus your business partner plus your mentors like all in the same place, and how hard that was.
Yeah, that was a lot. It's just, I think that it's easy to focus, like, we're doing the checks of like, oh, this is what we did, this is what we did, this is what we did. But behind every single one of those 185 episodes was us talking about what we were going through. It was us getting a message from somebody in our DM saying like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. For every one of those 52 guests was research.
Prospecting,
like sending a line out and saying, hey, we'd love to have you on the show.
right?
Coming up with questions, creating the teaser clips.
Scheduling.
Yeah.
How many calls did we had to cancel a couple. We got a couple canceled.
Yeah.
There's a couple that never, saw the light of day. There's even the time when you and I have recorded and then we're like, oh, that wasn't good. We have to redo that. All the late nights, man. Early mornings.
Yeah. So,
yeah, dude.
So those are the positives. But at the end of this, like when Alan and I were doing this, we were basically saying like, I think we haven't been as focused as we need to be.
I know.
On the podcast and you guys. because there's so much else going on. And again, this is my favorite part of the podcast, and I want you guys to see, like, I don't ever want you to say I could never do what you're doing, because maybe it looks easy, a lot of the stuff that we do, but I will always tell you that it's not.
Yeah.
I will always tell you when I'm screwing up, because everybody does. And again, this was our first full year in business together as an entity, as an LLC, a legitimate business.
Is that this year too?
It came through like on Christmas Day, I think.
Okay,
it was
right.
actually.
So
but
might as well be though.
it was our first year.
Yeah.
And it's like we have growing pains. We're figuring out what to do. And the only way to like really, really know what's working is to figure out what's not. And at the end, sorry, I'm choking here. At the end of the year, like looking back and saying, you know what? I regret the fact that I didn't stick with this longer and I didn't do what I was doing in the beginning of the year regarding this form of promotion, blah, 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 blah. So that's another thing too. Like, I want to make sure that this podcast for 2020 is my main strategic priority. And obviously my relationship is number one, right? Like family and love and intimacy and all that. Taryn, my sweetheart. But when it comes to business, when it comes to clients, when it comes to growing my wealth, when it comes to impacting you guys and speaking, that all comes through the podcast. So without the podcast, none of this is possible.
Yeah.
It's got to be the thing.
We talked earlier. How much time do we have?
Probably about 6 minutes.
6 minutes. So we talked earlier.
Oh, this is going to be a longer episode.
Yeah, FYI. Happy New Year, and this will be a longer episode. We talked earlier about growing pains and people who have big, hairy, audacious goals and how difficult it is to be around people who don't. And when you look at this whiteboard and you see all of the things that we've been investing our time, energy, and money into, it becomes very obvious why it's been so hard to keep in touch with friends.
Yeah.
And family.
That's another thing, too. What's not on here, because I didn't gain, is I lost a lot of friends.
Right.
I lost a
Same.
lot of friends. That
Same.
I don't, again, it's not a hard feeling thing. It's not that I don't care about them. It's just I don't have much time to be doing things that aren't in alignment with this because this is my life.
I know.
This is my life. You know, this is what it is. And that might happen to you if you're watching or listening. Like, if you're trying to start a business and you're working 12 hours a day, and when you're not working, you figure out how to work better. These things do happen, and it's one of the more painful sides. We say it's one of the darker sides of ambition and being hyperconscious and all that. But what if sometimes the dark things are necessary things?
So what are some lessons you learned in 2019 from all of this? That we can bring to the listeners.
Honestly, and this is something we've been saying since the beginning, but you are the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who you spend time with is who you become.
Period.
I'll just say that.
Period.
That's the thing. Like, that's 100%. 1 year can change your life in ways that you couldn't even fathom.
Yeah.
Both positive and negative, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
can say it in a positive way, but it can be the other way too.
Right. I would say my biggest lesson is to stop trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
You need help.
Yeah.
From allies, from a team. Be more vulnerable and honest when you're screwing up, and hold yourself more accountable when, like, it's okay not to be perfect, especially when you're trying to do so much. Like you and I's conversations about, even before this episode, we were talking about like where we've each been screwing up.
Yeah.
For me, it was, we were trying to redesign a system of success for 2020. And based on the new things we're doing, like live events and all that kind of stuff. My system, I think, is we finally got to the point where after we were done whiteboarding and figuring out the legs that feed the lion being the podcast, all of you guys, serving you guys. But like, I figured out my system is pretty rock solid, but it hasn't been executed consistently enough. And Kevin figured out that he has to adapt his system.
Yeah. It's got to be much, much better.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, I'm like exhausted right now.
Yeah, me too.
From all this.
Yeah.
But
Been a lot.
in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. If you're listening to this, it's the beginning of 2020. Whether you set resolutions or not, I don't care about any of that. But what I do care about is that you're looking back on 2019 and you don't make the same mistakes that you made. You double down on what worked and find a way to grow that and make that better and be more consistent and be smarter about it. But don't make the same mistakes that you made, because when you do those, you're always going to be making mistakes. But if you're making the same mistakes, you're probably not growing that much. And that's what this is. We grew a lot.
Yeah.
Where could we have grown more? That's the question that I'm going to ask myself.
That's a great question. So let's answer that.
Well, you don't have time.
Oh, we don't have time. We're going?
Yeah, we got to go soon.
We got to go.
But that's my challenge. If you're listening to this, look back in 2019. People, places, things, ideas, feelings, limiting beliefs. What held me back? What propelled me? Get around the things that propelled you more in 2020 and try to leave some of the garbage, in the bad stuff in 2019, because it's your job to make your life the best possible, and I don't want you to regret the things that you did at the end of next year.
10-second blip for the listeners.
The only way your year will get better is if you get better.
Fire. For me, the 10-second blip is this. We all tend to overestimate what we can do in a day, but don't lose sight of how much you can accomplish in a year, especially when you compound that into the decade. You're probably going to feel like you're failing along the way if you're going for big things, but that's okay, because at the end of the year, you're going to be really proud of who you've become.
Fire. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this. Are we going to do goal setting in the next one?
Setting intentions for 2020.
We hope you enjoyed this. Up next, we are going to do setting intentions for 2020.
We're going to set some intentions.
Yeah, set some intentions.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, talk soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.